I'm Tom Rowland, and this is the Tom Rowland Podcast. Hey everybody, on today's show we have a great guest, Will Taylor. If you're a fan of Saltwater Experience, you may have seen us fish with Will Taylor, and this interview was conducted right after we fished. Will and I got to be friends when first meeting on Instagram, exchanging some messages, then getting together to go fishing, and really enjoyed the guy. He's super nice. We have kind of mutual admiration for trout fishing, and he is catching some massive trout in the North Georgia area. So we talk about that. We talk about social media and the impact that it's had on fishing, what the future of that may be, what the future of distribution of fishing content might look like. And we go into a lot of things about how he got started and where he hopes to take his fishing career in the future. Really good conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Today's episode was brought to you by Waypoint TV. And Waypoint TV is an online platform that streams hunting and fishing shows for free. Did I mention that it is for free? You just go there and you can go to the app. You can go to waypointtv.com. You can check it out on your Apple TV, Roku, Chromecast, Smart TV, on and on and on. Basically, any device that you have that gets streaming content, Waypoint is available there, and you can go there and find the highest quality hunting and fishing content available anywhere. I would highly encourage you, if you like to watch outdoor content, check it out. It's an amazing platform, and did I mention that it's free? It's completely free. All you got to do is maybe watch a 15-second commercial, and then the entire episode of your favorite fishing or hunting show is for free. So check it out, waypointtv.com. Now, without any further ado, I want to introduce you to Will Taylor. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Tom Rowland with Saltwater Experience. I am sitting here with my new friend, Will Taylor. Will Taylor comes from the land of North Georgia and also by way of Naples, Florida. Will and I have an interesting relationship, and something that's been happening a little bit lately with me is having a fascination, I guess, with Instagram and looking around on Instagram, seeing what people are catching, seeing what people are doing, actually reaching out to those people and forming, some sort of relationship. And so far, I've had some of the best fishing and met some of the coolest people by doing this method. And one being my friend Graham Taylor, another Melton Hill Bill, another Ryan Nitz, and now Will Taylor. So Insta famous people, and it's really turned out. So Will, I'm glad you're here. And what's up? How's the trip so far?
Good stuff, man. It was a great trip, great experience. And I mean, it can't beat the Keys. I mean, it's the best place. It's an unreal place, unreal location, unreal destination, and the fishing is unreal.
So you were saying that you haven't been to the Keys much, but you have
Right.
some experience, right?
Some experience. I mean, it's more or less of the touristy Keys visit like everybody else, I think. And
The contour train?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You go down to Key West and take your picture and, do that thing. And never really had a chance. It's always been super intriguing for me to get down into this fishery or these fisheries and really focus on these species that, not a lot of the world gets to experience that we get to experience, right here in South Florida. So
Yeah.
it's a great time.
And so you're spending some time in Georgia,
Mhm.
sometime in Naples. How does that work?
It's that was the original plan, when I first started going up and, opening my shop and, starting in the guiding business. And, it's kind of developed and come to fruition that, we've been just absolutely slammed, all due to Instagram. Instagram is a great platform for really anybody,
Yeah.
not just a specific person, but anybody. You can show people what you're about.
Mhm.
You can show your products, you can show your fisheries, you can show anything you want to show. And if you do it right and you develop the right relationships, you can end up in places like this with guys like yourself.
And so Instagram, is that your main focus, or do you do other stuff too?
Instagram is kind of where it started. and that's really our main platform. Facebook has been there as well, but really Instagram and Snapchat is really huge for us. We try to put as many different experiences, no matter where we're fishing. We try to put them all on Snapchat and Instagram stories, and we try to post as much content as we can have, as much content as we can find, without annoying people, of course.
Right.
It's there is a delicate balance there, and once you start putting up, the content that we do, it's you got to do that on a daily basis, and being down here is a perfect opportunity for me to really get in and dig in and really try to learn these species, and today was fantastic. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better experience. I mean, it was on the water with some great guys and a great crew, and great equipment, and it just you can't ask for any better. It just turned out great. I mean, it
Yeah.
started out slow, which is fine by
Well,
me, and it ended up perfect.
that's you're a fisherman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People see the show, and people have some wild and crazy expectations about how that goes down. Either that it takes us 2 weeks to film the show, or that the fishing's always like it is on TV, or just different, lots of different expectations. And I hear people ask me all these questions about that. But the fact of the matter is that we are in the Florida Keys. There are 40 to 50 different species that we have the luxury of fishing for. Both Rich and I were professional guides, guiding and doing nothing else, no part-time jobs or anything, just full-time guiding. And when you're a full-time guide, it's not nice all the time. In fact, it's nice only part of the time. And those are the easy days. The other days are the days where, it's raining, or it's cloudy, or it's windy, or it's the temperature just dropped, or it's too hot, or it's too cold, or it's too something. And you've got to figure out, okay, what are we going to do now? Or the conditions are absolutely perfect. We were talking about this today about permit fishing in as one thing. Permit fishing is a romantic idea that a lot of people are in love with, but the fact of the matter is that, man, the guy on the back of the boat that's pushing it around with a stick has to really be in love with it. And when somebody comes in and the conditions are absolutely perfect for, I'm sure you're the same, man, with your trout, there's a perfect condition probably for the big browns. There's a perfect condition probably for a different, one of the rainbows or a different river. There's a perfect condition for something. There is definitely a perfect condition for permit, and there's an absolute imperfect condition for fly fishing for permit, and that's super slick calm. And when people would come in and they would want to fish for permit, and it was super slick calm, and people are crushing tarpon, that was one of the most difficult things. Absolutely, really, really, it would hurt your soul. Like you know what's happening out there, and you can't do it,
Right.
and you're going out after a fish in the worst possible conditions. It may be pleasing to the eye, but it's the worst possible conditions, and you're going out there and trying to do that, and that really sucks the fun out of it. It really does.
Yeah.
And I got to the point to where I wanted to fish for what was happening at the time that it was happening, and using the best method possible. That's kind of, and sometimes that's fly fishing,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's spin fishing. But I was looking at your Instagram here. So you've got Will Taylor Project.
Mhm.
That's on Instagram.
That's my personal one. Yeah.
That's your personal one. You've got what, six? Let me get back up. I missed it. There it is. Will Taylor, 6,600 followers and 85, 6685. So we'll see what happens after this show.
Yep.
And see if you get some more. And then you also have Fly Shop, right?
Yep. Fly Shop Co. Yep.
Fly
Yep.
Shop Co.
Yep. Yep.
And that one is quite a bit bigger.
Yeah.
This one's 15,000 people.
Yeah.
And on this one, you're posting trout and a lot of the stuff that you're doing also in Naples, right?
Right. Right.
And so we were talking about it today, about the reaction between some of your followers on maybe they don't like the saltwater stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's obviously we're very trout oriented or trout driven or whatever you want to call it. So that's our target audience. So the second that a trout guy goes into the saltwater world, people tend to get a little bit little,
Really?
yeah, it's weird, it's
Well, it
very
is kind of
strange.
weird.
It's strange just because I think it's something like, again, it's just one of those things that they need to experience it.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier. I was trout as a young age, and I went salt, and now I'm back trout, and now I'm
Yeah.
trout salt, and it's just that cold water, warm water thing. I mean, I feel like you need to do both.
Yeah.
If you feel like if you feel like you need more flies, you need more rods, you need more gear, man, go after a different species.
Right.
And the same thing for saltwater guys. If you feel like you've caught every tarpon in the Gulf, or every tarpon oceanside, or every bonefish you've ever seen, and
Yeah.
it's nothing to you, go challenge yourself. Chase a new species. And I think we see that. I think we see a lot of guys, going to different destinations in Argentina and Bolivia and Patagonia and Chile and Cuba now, and what's unique is that we have good fishing right here at home.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
definitely do.
yeah, and you don't have to spend a ridiculous amount of money and travel thousands and thousands of miles and inconvenience everybody in your life just to go chase fish that we have right here in Florida,
Yeah.
and as well as Georgia.
And with all the exotics, like some of those guys in Miami are catching
Oh yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
oh yeah,
Arapaima and Pacu, I guess that's what where they're doing it. I see them on Instagram. Some other guys I'm going to call up one of these days
very
and
cool.
go and meet with them too. But I really am having the best time meeting people on Instagram. I don't know if you've done that before.
I'm gonna start doing it because
Well,
it's a great idea. I mean, when you see these guys, and we do, I work with a very tight group of individuals, just like yourself,
mhm,
and we sit around and we talk and we joke, and we're like, well, where do you think the fishing industry is going to go? Where we go? Well, dude, where do you want to take it?
right,
We're in control as far as
right,
we're looking. We can do whatever we want, and not just us. We as in individuals, as anglers, like we can take this sport as big as we want.
hmm
With the platform that we have with social media, you can put it in front of millions of eyes. There are people that never even knew that you could do certain things in Miami and the Keys and Georgia and out west and wherever else. I mean, before I came in, to the picture and tried to introduce in our parts of the world, there's always been trout there, always been trout there, always been big trout. Always had some great fishing. We talked about Tennessee having some of the biggest stripers in the
hmm
states. We
yep,
talked about several things, but when people think about trout, they think about out west. You might get a lot of that in the Keys. I mean, of course, everybody thinks about tarpon and bonefish and permit and things like that. But at the same time, people tend to think about other places,
hmm
and I think that that's where it's our job, as, semi just trying to figure it out for people, saying,
right,
listen, you don't have to go to Montana. If you live on the East Coast, you don't have to go to Montana and Utah. And great, trust me, most beautiful places in the world, Idaho, Montana, Utah. I mean, just all these places that you can go catch. There's a million trout in a stream, a million trout. But you know what? There's just as beautiful fish on the East Coast. And
yeah. Well, there's just as beautiful fish for sure, but there is the Western experience.
absolutely,
There is,
absolutely.
the Western drift boat, the cowboy,
Yep.
the Yellowstone National Park, the wildlife, and that's all good, and it's something that should be on everybody's bucket list. But also, you don't. I guess what you're saying is you don't have to deprive yourself of trout fishing for the year, waiting for your Western
That's right.
trip, and maybe if you try what you're doing,
Yep.
you might not even want to go there
Yeah.
anymore.
I mean, I hear it all the time. I've got, I take people out, and, fathers will, be in tears, hugging me and saying, you saved me thousands of dollars because I've been taking my son to Patagonia for years to catch a 30-inch brown, and we catch it in Georgia,
Right.
and then 2 hours later they're at a Braves game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's, it's a unique part of the world. We get a lot of Nashville, we get a lot of Atlanta,
Yeah.
we get a lot of that Southeast, and we're doing as best as we can to make our community a true fishing community, a true
Yeah.
destination. And the most difficult part of that is when you have a true destination, you have to have a destination river, a river that has a destination, to it. It's one of those things that, it's a challenge, and it's not just me, it's the community that has been trying for many, 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 many years. And, I think it's going well. I think it's
Yeah.
going well. And with platforms like social media, man, it's,
Well,
it's very easy.
you certainly get your message out there. I mean, this is a great example. I mean, the chances of us running into one another probably are slim.
Right.
But sometimes if I'm spending time in other parts of the country, I've got three kids, so I've got a 19-year-old that's at Montana State. He's trout fishing and hunting and doing all kinds of stuff out there. Then I have a 17-year-old that's way into fishing right now. He wants to do every kind of fishing. And I have a 13-year-old daughter. And she's somewhat into fishing. But I find myself in different parts of the country being, I guess, a lot more, how should I say it? I feel like everybody else sometimes. You go to a strange part of the country. I don't know where the fly shop is. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what who the local guides are. And I'm kind of at a little bit of a loss. Like I'd like to go fishing right now, but where? Right? So, and a lot of the local trout shops have Jason, just make the drink already. And our photographer came in the door, and he's trying very quietly to put ice in the cup, but he should just make the drink
actually
already.
louder when you're trying to be quiet.
Stemple, yes. But as I'm going in these places that I don't know, and my son's saying, "Hey, look, it looks like there might be some fish over there." Okay, maybe we should stop and try. And people think, well, you make your living as a fishing guide and a television guy. You should know where all the fish are, but you don't.
No.
If you don't fish there, you don't know. And Instagram and Facebook and all of the social media has been fantastic for that, because Hayden is following all of these people, and he's showing me all of these things, and I'm like, wow, man, that is actually really cool. And you know what? It's not far away, and we should go do that.
That's
and
right.
So I started reaching out to people and just talking to them and finding out, hey, what's the best time, all of these different things, and actually going and having some great experiences. But it's really cool. I like the social media. I'm fascinated with it, actually. So we're running all of our social media out of one office. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are our main platforms, but it's growing and people are really into it. And if you look around at the restaurant or whatever, everybody's got their face buried in their phone. So they're doing whatever kind of social media they're into. Some of it might be fishing, but I kind of doubt it.
Right.
I think they're looking at other
We got to
things.
change that.
So speaking of changing that, like you say, you and your friends sit around wondering which direction the fishing industry is going in. I'd like to know where do you see the fishing industry going? That's actually a question that we got on the social media tonight, when I posted a picture of our permit. Where do you see it going? Where do you see it right now, and where do you see it going, I guess?
It's fishing as an industry as a whole is absolutely huge. It has its ups and downs like any industry does. Fly fishing specifically, I think, has grown so much just since I've been in the industry. But as for the past 5-10 years, I think people like yourself and other people in the industry are seeing more and more individuals picking up a fly rod. I like to see that because the culture that surrounds fly fishing,
Yeah.
the catch and release, the conservation, the other things that, may not be interesting to some individuals, but is very, very important for not only, the sport itself, but, the future generations and even the current anglers. One thing that I hear all the time is, man, this fishery, if you could have just seen it 15 years ago.
Yeah.
If you could have just seen it 10 years ago, and they're complaining and it's, and it's guys that are passionate about the industry. And that's what it needs. It needs guys to get passionate, to be involved, and try to keep fishing around, for future generations, because it is something that one of those things, it's based on natural resources. So, when those resources are gone, then, what do we do? And I'm sure, like yourself, myself, as early as I can remember, as young as I can remember, I've always had, I was always on the water,
Mhm.
whatever that was, whether it was a creek or a river or a bay or the Gulf or whatever it was. You're always out there. You're always trying to get better. You're always trying, and that's what I think is so intriguing about just fishing as a whole, is you're always, you never know. You go out every day and you just never know. Today, I mean, there was so much involved with today, and we just had no clue what was going to happen.
Right.
It was just like balls to the wall. Let's go.
Yep.
And it's that one fish, and you're like, all right, we got that one fish. We broke the ice. We're good. And then you get that second fish, and then you get her fish, and you're like, all right, this is fun, good time. And then you're like, all right, now it just got epic. This is what it's about. And, to be able to share those experiences with people out there via social media or whatever it is it may be. That's the special part to it. That's the part that I enjoy about it.
Mm-hmm.
I get to enjoy my daily routine through photography, through social media, through whatever. And it's so cool, and I'm sure you feel this way too. It's so cool to be able to post your experience online and share with people, and other people get involved, that they're liking it, making comments and doing all these things that just drive you to do better content, to
Right.
be better, to do more things, to travel around. It's funny because you say you have this little project you're working on where you're contacting people on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And that was something that I told my wife about. I was like, I was asked today, if I could fish with three people, who would those three people be? Who would the people that I
Yeah.
would choose from?
Who asked you that?
And it was one of my guys. It was one of my
Okay.
trips.
So who
And
are they?
oh man, I can't. I'm fortunate enough to fish with a few of them, and I'd have to look up their names on Instagram. But they're on Instagram. These are guys that they're not famous. They're not getting paid. They don't have sponsors. They don't have $5,000 cameras and three
Yeah.
thousand dollar lenses. They don't have all that. But what they have is an amazing fishery, and what they have is that passion and that drive. And those are the guys you want to fish with. Those are the guys you want to be like, listen, like you have something special here. I've noticed it. Everybody else noticed it. The world is noticing it. It's a matter of time before there's lots of these guys around,
Yeah.
lots of these guys that will be able to show, hey, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's around, but you know what I got? I've got the most amazing public waters you've ever seen in your life, or I've got, species of fish that you just didn't think that get this big,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something that was unique about our areas. There's always been big fish there,
Right.
always, always.
Well, there's something about those. I mean, I haven't fished your water yet. I'm going to, but I have been to the Soquee, and I have been to some other of that area, and I know the mystique about the North Georgia water. And I don't know what it is, but I've heard that there's a special mineral content to that water that's not found anywhere else. But I mean, there are lots of people that feed trout in ponds. There are lots of people that feed trout out west in rivers. There are lots of people that feed trout all over the place, and they don't get the size of trout that you're having. And that's got to have something. And the same with the Soquee. There has to be something to the water, or to the insect life there, or to something is different than other places, because you can feed trout all you want. That
Right.
doesn't mean they're going to grow
No.
to those sizes.
No, and especially in that type of water. You're talking about monster fish.
Tell me. Well, I'm getting excited about this trip, so I don't know what your water is. Explain, paint the picture.
Well, all right. So, it's we have a little bit of everything. In our particular town, Blue Ridge, Georgia, is in Fannin County,
Mm-hmm.
and Fannin County has been endorsed by the state as the trout capital of Georgia. And since then, I wouldn't even say since then. Before then, it was kind of a fishing community, but since then, it's really become a focus. We have lots of guides, like anywhere else that's that's a very fishy town. We have lots of guides and lots of people that are in the industry, and a community that's behind it. And that's what's so special and so unique about it, because these private fisheries and these levels of conservation that we do, it's not one person. It's a team of people.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything really. I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but you can't do anything to this type of magnitude on your own. You have to have a team of people. You have to believe everybody has to be on the same page. When you come and you do fish these waters, you have multiple choices. You can get on a drift boat and go down the Toccoa. You can get on a drift boat and go down the Hiawassee with bigger water streamers, throwing them at big browns. My particular favorite is creeks. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I love chasing big fish in creeks. Some days are there, some days are not, just like everywhere else. And we've been in a serious drought for over a year now, and water levels have been down, water temps have been up, been losing a lot of fish. It's very hard on trout. Trout are very sensitive species.
Yeah, they don't like the heat.
Not at all. And when the water temperature gets up so high, even certain types of trout might even just die off. They can't find the elevation they need to get in the cooler water, or especially with the lower water like we've had,
Mm-hmm.
they can't get where they need to be because there's not enough water to get there. So we from year to year it's a challenge. And that's what's a challenge for these private fisheries. But to paint a picture for you, as far as the fisheries and whatnot, my favorite is just creek chasing. It's one of those things where the public water or the rivers or whatever you want to call them, WMA property, whatever it may be, those are types of waters that they're public water. It's like what you've got here. Here it's a little bit harder to fish and whatever. But if you're a little bit more north, like Naples and in that area, Fort Myers or
Hmm.
Stero and things like that, the public water, you might see 5-6 boats a day, and it's the same out west. You can go drift, you
Sure.
drift rivers, and
Yep.
you might see 15 boats, and that's what I think is so unique about private water, and you get to really, really enjoy your experiences as an angler.
Hmm.
I get, and I'm sure you get this too, but 80% of my clients don't even never even touched a fly rod.
Hmm.
They
Really?
they see it, they see it on TV or they see your Instagram or
That's amazing.
it's crazy. And
You're getting 80% of your clients have never touched a fly
at
rod, and you're
least,
taking them out to catch some of the biggest trout in the world.
and they do, and they do.
Wow.
And it comes down to figuring out your model
Right.
and being able to take that application and teach somebody in a short period of time, put them on water and become successful. And like I said, it's not a
Yeah.
one man game,
Yeah.
and
So when you say it's not a one man game, who are you talking about?
okay, so when you're out there and you're a team, okay, so whether you have two anglers with you,
Hmm.
I like to have one guide per two anglers because you
Okay.
just that to be able to have the
Yeah.
experience, you have to be able to
Yeah.
focus on your clients. And these big fish are, they're smart. I call them PhDs.
Hmm.
That's what they are. They've seen flies. They have their certain diet and certain menu that they like, and that's just what it is. And
Hmm.
and we were talking about this earlier. Even a fish that's not hungry, if the right presentation is there, they're going to eat.
Yeah.
And as an angler and more of a trout angler, a trout fisherman, is you've got to learn that finesse. You got to learn that finesse. And when you're on big water and you're throwing, big lines, 9-foot rods, and you're airing it out and all that stuff, that's great and grand. But you know what? That's on TV. You know what I mean? Nobody's throwing 60 feet, 70 feet of line on a river. If you are, hey, I don't, there's trout right there in front of you.
Right.
That's how trout
Right. But
are.
where's the team come in?
The team comes in as, when you're hunting these big fish and you're fishing, I'm the captain and I'm spotting fish and I'm looking for fish and I'm hunting fish and I'm saying, you know what, this fish is done. Let's move on. And I can't catch this fish. All I can do is tell people how to catch this
Yeah.
fish. And big fish are different. It's, most of the trout that we target, you're not going to land them on your own. And if you do, it's bad for the fish. If you're out there with a 4 weight and you're spending 30 minutes fighting a fish,
Right.
it's not good for any fish. I don't care.
So
Where you
you're
are.
talking about you're getting the person hooked up.
Oh yeah,
Then you're netting the fish.
getting the person hooked up, talking them through every moment.
Hmm.
We have a lot of structure on our water. That is another big issue for a lot of new anglers. But what I really enjoy about new anglers is they don't have bad habits.
Hmm.
I can have guys come down, my Florida guys or whoever, my bass guys or whatever. Your bass guys are trying to come up out of their shoes trying to set the hook. And my Florida guys are stripping out 80 feet of line, and the trout's 10 feet away. And it becomes, and by the end of it, you have this like you're in sync with each other.
Yeah.
You have that comfortable silence with each other. You have those emotions with each other. Because I tell you what, man, I don't care who you are. You go catch a 25-inch brown,
Yeah.
it's going to change your life.
Yeah.
That's just reality. I don't care if you're not even into fishing. I've taken people out there before. By the end of the trip, they're like, I want this, this, and this, and this, and we want to book you for the next 3 years on the same day. And then that's what and that's kind of a thing at the end of the trip that you're like, as a guide and as a professional, you're like, I did my job.
Yeah.
I did my job. But we try to take things to the next level. We try to be, like I was telling you earlier, we try to be 5 stars across the board, whether it's my wife intervening with reservation plans and making any type of issues you might have with getting to the town or the airport or lodging or whatever it is. We try to get involved as much as we can, and that means a lot. It's the special touches, because a lot of people, when they're like, we don't even know where Blue Ridge is.
Right.
Where is Blue Ridge? How far is it away from the closest international airport? How far is it from Nashville? Can I drive there? Can I? Is there an airport? All kinds of little questions that go, and like you said earlier, a guide's job is when you wake up, you turn on.
Right.
And you don't turn off until you go to sleep. And you can, and you'll even hear clients say this, and especially clients that have been on many, many, many trips with professionals. They know your job doesn't end when you go home. You got to prepare for the next day. I mean, hell,
It never ends.
never
It
ends.
never ends. And it's funny to hear you say that because there are a lot of guides who wish they were anglers. And I ran into this a lot, that they would start guiding because they really wanted to be the fisherman. They really wanted to catch all these fish, and they found a way to get into the guiding, and they got into the guiding. But the whole time they're on the back of the boat, they're thinking, "Man, I'd like to be on the front of the boat." And I just kind of found that it was two different modes. I
Hmm.
had two completely different modes. I was in guide mode. I had no interest in touching the rod. If somebody said, "Here, catch the fish,"
Nope.
I'm not interested in
Same way.
touching the fish.
Same way.
I'm not interested in catching. I know I can catch that
Right.
fish, or maybe I'll save it for a day off
Right.
or something else. But this day is about you. This day is about you catching this fish. I'm here to help you with that. And if you don't want to fish anymore, then hey, let's just take a break.
Right.
Right? It's not about me
Right.
taking off and going fishing, because I learned that from the person that I learned to guide from. Two people really. My first guide job was in Jackson, Wyoming. Bressler Outfitters. Vern Bressler started the Orvis Endorsed Guide Program. He was a hard ass. He was really an old son of a bitch, is what he was, and had great attention to detail. And his son, Joe Bressler, gave me my first job. And like we were talking about a little bit earlier, when I first started guiding, there was the period of time that was pre river runs through it, and then there was the period of time that was post river runs through it. And what you're talking about getting your spiel down to get these people up and running and catching fish really quickly. Well, that was somewhat important before the movie, and then it was really important after the movie, because everybody out there had new anglers,
Right.
and the boat ramps are crowded like nobody's business. Nobody's ever seen this many people fish before. That also had to do, around the time the Gore-Tex wader came in. So all of a sudden now people are much more comfortable fishing, and that had a big influence on the number of anglers. Just went absolutely nuts. But my Vern Bressler, when he first one of the things that he told me, he said, "Now, you're not supposed to be fishing out there. If I ever hear somebody come back and say, 'Well, I didn't catch a big one, but the guide caught a huge one,' he was like, 'You're fired.'" And I was like, "Okay, I get that. I see that. Like, that could be really bad." And then, he taught us all about, when you come in, how to be in an outfit type thing. You don't come in and start running your mouth about all the fish you caught or this did that. You don't talk about that. You come in. Did you have a nice day? That's awesome. We had a really beautiful, it was so beautiful out there. Never talk about the numbers or the size or anything like that, and just this guide etiquette of just this is how you carry yourself, this is what you do. And you don't want to come in and say, "Well, we only caught 18,"
Right.
which might be a bad day for you.
Right.
But this guy struggled to catch 3, and he was super happy and on top of the world before you came in running your big fat mouth about catching 18. And now he's like, "Oh, well, I guess I didn't have such a good day after all." But Vern Bressler was, you could not have learned to guide from anybody better than Vern and Joe Bressler. I mean, they were old time cowboys that just, they knew how to do it. They knew what you were supposed to do, and the attention to detail. And that carried over into the saltwater for me right away. And that's a big reason why I had success early here, was because I was relying on the things that I had learned there. And, Jason, that's behind me editing pictures somewhere, we talk a lot about what is it to be a good guide. And a good guide is, it doesn't matter how many fish you catch. It doesn't matter how big they are. A good guide shows somebody a good time. When they get off the water with that person, they've just had the most enjoyable day outside that they've ever had, and they want to do it again. Now, if a big fish comes along with that and enhances that,
Just a
that's
bonus.
awesome.
Yeah.
But guiding is, a lot of people ask me about guiding, and I want to ask you about how you got into it. But a lot of people ask me about it, and I'm like, man, it's a noble profession if you take it seriously.
Right.
And if you take it seriously and you do really your best at it, and you try to bring professionalism to a profession sometimes it doesn't exist. Sometimes it does. And some of the best guides that I've ever been with are right here in the Florida Keys, and also some of the worst.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
mean, it's some of the best and some of the worst. And the best ones are just that. They are true professionals, booked for life, and they'll stay that way. But how is it that you happen to get into guiding?
When we first opened the shop,
Well, when's that?
God, when was that? March 2015. Yeah, March 2015. Yeah.
Okay. And how old are you?
And 35.
Okay.
Yeah. It was something that me and my fiance at the time, my wife currently.
Lovely Lisa right here sitting next to us. We only have 2 headsets.
And when we moved up there, we went up there with nothing but, positive thoughts, positive vibes. And we opened the fly shop. We really didn't know about the guiding end of it. I've always been an angler and I've always, I guess you could say, guided. But, it was more or less of just taking your friends fishing and
Yeah.
whoever else fishing. And, I had a couple mentors that were, kind of, older individuals that, were kind of just old school anglers out of Texas and things of that nature. And, my uncle played a huge role in introducing, angling into my world.
Mhm.
And, when we moved up to Blue Ridge, it was just kind of like, um, we've got to do this. We've got to take it and run with it. And one thing is like if one person can do it, why can't I?
Right.
And it was one of those things where, well, how do we be better than the next? And how do we take this to the next level? And I think that is really what has driven us is that we're always trying to take it to the next level.
So what have you done?
It's all about the community. Whether or not we're doing good or whoever it is that's doing good in the area or whatever, it's not going to work if the community is not behind you. And, we try to get the community behind us and we got them behind us. And it's a great little community. And I grew up there and, it's a lot of, you walk into the post office and, 5 people
So
in
do
there.
these people see that you're bringing in high dollar customers that are spending money in their town?
They do. They do. And Blue Ridge is a very new happening place. It's very close to Atlanta.
Got a lot of flannel shirts and skinny jeans there.
A lot of flannel shirts. A lot of.
I know there's some skinny jeans around where I live too.
They're not skinny now. Now they're just spandex. Like they're a little bit closer to spandex than skinny. But no, but Blue Ridge is and that's what fly fishing does. Is it does attract.
Shrinks your jeans?
It does a little bit.
It does.
It does. You wear jeans as you wear skinny jeans in the creek. Yeah. That's part of the experience. Actually,
It shrinks them. Apparently, it does.
If you're a 36, we're going to push you in a 32 today.
I got you. Yeah. I understood.
So it's I've done a series of short films that is kind of like a trend in the angling world.
Mhm.
There's a lot of really talented guys. I'm talking just insanely talented with some of the technology that they have and what they do and the content that they put out. I was able to, just like yourself, I reached out to these guys. I worked with these guys. I said, listen, you like trout? We've got big trout.
Mhm.
We've done a lot of shorts and I worked with a lot of fantastic photographers and videographers in the business. And, these films have definitely helped out the community, if not North Georgia or even the Southeast even. Some of the amount of views that we're getting on some of these fly fishing films is astronomical.
Like what?
Like
How much?
one of them we have probably, I think it's 265,000
Wow.
views on one.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I just put out a little short.
And where do people see those? Where do you put them? YouTube?
Mainly Vimeo. Vimeo, yeah.
Okay.
There's some issues with YouTube with some licensing issues and things like that. So Vimeo,
Music.
yep, music is the main issue. So Vimeo has kind of been the hub for these new talented individuals to be able to expose themselves to the world.
Yeah.
And the recent film we just did was probably about a month and a half ago we put out. I did that one with Patrick Rea and his uncle Nick, and I had over 100,000 views in a month.
Wow, on
And
Vimeo.
On Vimeo. And you're talking about fly fishing films. You're not talking about, anything else.
Right.
You're talking about such a small part of the world that is even interested in this.
Yeah.
So when you have 100,000 people viewing something, it makes you feel like, people are really getting interested,
Yeah.
and working with these guys and like yourself, working with the professionals that you work with, being able to put your artistic view on things and being able to really dig in and do these things, you have kind of like the river runs through it,
Mm-hmm.
but on small scales.
Yeah.
And I mean, you wouldn't believe how many times, like, every day somebody's putting out a new film. Every day
Oh,
somebody's
I
putting out
know.
something. And it's crazy. And most of these guys are doing this for free, pro
Right.
bono. They're not getting paid high dollar money from
My son's doing
sponsors.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
My son is all into it right now, and he's following all these guys and watching all these movies and watching the ones that you're making too. And he's totally in. And
totally
that's
in.
all he wants to do.
Totally in. And you can fish all day and you're with your buddies and everything, but the
In
first thing you
fact,
want to do is go home and
in
edit.
fact, here's his here's his thing right here. He just sent me this. Let's see what it looks like. He says this is the first draft of his
Oh,
new
is he
video.
throwing it? Yep, he's throwing it. Is he throwing pancakes?
I think he's throwing fish food.
Oh,
I think
is that up in Chattanooga?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So he's shooting this with a Sony A6300.
Fantastic camera.
Look at that albino trout.
Oh yeah,
They put some albino trout in this pond, and he goes over there and just beats the dog shit out
and
of
he
him.
just loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah. And
Oh,
he's
yeah.
just totally in. So, I mean, this is exactly the example of what you're talking about. My son's an artist. He can draw amazing things. He can take amazing pictures. He has the interest, and with that photographer's eye, he's going to do great.
Oh yeah.
And he will be one of these new filmmakers. And obviously, he gets to go to some pretty cool places. I get to take him to some places. But this is exactly what you're talking about. And then we have, another project that we're into is this Waypoint TV, and that is really one of the big focal points of Waypoint is to provide a place. Not, like you're saying that YouTube has its challenges and Vimeo has its challenges. Vimeo has its challenges that if you're getting 100,000 views on something on Vimeo, that's really good.
Oh yeah.
That would probably translate to 500,000 on YouTube.
Easily.
But still, I don't know. There's no place for advertising.
Right.
So like you're saying, they're doing it for free.
Right.
They're doing it for free, not because they want to do it for free.
They have to.
They're doing it for free because they have to do it for free, and it's unfortunate. So Waypoint, the whole idea behind Waypoint is to protect the producer-sponsor relationship. And that sponsor relationship is not protected on YouTube because YouTube can put ads in before our shows or your movies or anything else. And you can turn off all the ads and they still put some ads in. So that's probably the worst thing that you could do in a sponsor relationship is to allow someone else to come in there, and you've paid for this movie as a sponsor, and then here's your competition paying 1 cent a click to be in front of that. So Waypoint, the whole idea is that the producer maintains the opportunity to keep that pre-roll advertising. So it's something that can be sold to the sponsors. It's something that can be, as a tool to generate income for these movies.
And that's huge because you got to understand that, like, I'm on the forefront with these guys.
Yeah.
And that's the frustration.
Yeah, they don't know how to sell. Well, first of all, they don't know how to sell, which is very, very difficult for
anybody.
That was and it was hugely difficult for us, and that was the biggest challenge to getting the television show off the ground is how do we get sponsors? And so many times when people are asking questions about sponsors, it's our history is that I was just a trout guide, and then I came down here, saltwater guide, doing well. Had a small relationship with Orvis. I could get some tackle on discount, but I was by no means sponsored by anyone. My first sponsorship came from Scott Fly Rods. My second sponsorship came from Rio Fly Lines, actual paid sponsorship. But the road to getting there was unbelievably difficult. And to get them, and I had to travel all over the country doing casting competitions for the International Sportsman's Expositions, hundreds of free seminars, writing articles, doing everything that I possibly could. Of course, we didn't have social media back then. But the road to sponsorship is difficult because it's not based upon what you've done. You have this movie that has 100,000 views. Okay, well, when you go to present that to a sponsor, it means almost nothing to that sponsor because they're going to say, okay, well, how do we know that the next movie is going to get anything, right? And so that is where these young filmmakers have to begin to understand that you have to be able to sell them something, right? Like you can't just go out and make a movie and with the rods that you like and then go to that company and say, "Don't you want to pay me for
Right.
using your rods here?"
Happens all the time.
I know.
Happens
Well,
all the time.
and it's backwards. You
Yep.
have to get the person to be interested, tell them, coach them up on what you're going to do, and maybe they want to be interested. And you know what? Sometimes maybe you have to go use somebody else's rods,
That's right.
and
That's right.
that can be a real personal decision and a real it's full of turmoil.
Full of
Certainly has
turmoil.
been with me,
Oh, yeah, same here.
because I'm loyal like a dog,
Mhm.
and I don't want ever want to do that, right? But sometimes if the project is that important to you, then you have to
Gotta do it.
find the partners that are going to allow you to do it. But Waypoint is a very cool platform that is designed for those young people,
And I'm
those
happy you're
young
putting it
filmmakers.
you know, I'm happy you're putting it out there like that because the more people that will hear this podcast, the more people that will know that, it kinda gives them that hope, that light at the end of the tunnel, like, "You know what? There's true professionals that I can go to, that I can depend
Right.
on, that I can put my work on their platform, and I know that it's gonna get to the right
Well,
audience."
Waypoint is kind of our platform. You know, it's kind of our platform, but it really everyone's platform,
Right, right, right,
right?
right.
I mean, it's really almost like a YouTube. I mean, we kind of started it and it was our kind of idea, but now it's being embraced by the hunting industry and the fishing industry, and it's taken off,
Well, that's what I was gonna
right?
say, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not my platform; it's
Right,
everybody's platform.
right.
But what these guys have to see and be excited about is, man, I can do what I want to do and there's an opportunity to make money from it. And it's not just making money. Making money is a small part of it. What it is you can do what you're excited about doing and you can help the company to do what they want to do, sell more stuff,
Right.
right? So everybody wins and nobody's taking advantage of anybody. You're providing a service. They are paying for a service that they're happy to pay for. But a sponsor doesn't want to pay for something that they're not going to get or they have no guarantees. And then when even you throw a third party in there of a advertising agency or
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
like that who says, well, let's boil this to a cost per thousand and what you're doing with this guy and I see it, the good quality and everything, but you're paying 50 times more than what we normally pay.
Mhm, and I'm glad you put that out there because a lot of people don't realize that even exists between the companies and the PR companies.
Right.
They have
Well,
no clue.
it certainly does, and most people don't understand that. But most people also think that if you win a tournament, that you're entitled to some kind of sponsorship, which couldn't be further from the truth. Because if you win a tournament, that doesn't mean that you've done anything to sell anybody's product. What companies are interested in is they're interested in the guy that does 200 free seminars at Bass Pro or whatever at the local fly shop every weekend
Mhm.
for free.
Mhm,
Never asked for
mhm.
a dime.
Right,
Never asked for anything,
right,
but he's touching, hundreds of people
right,
that because he's been nice to those people and because he's taught them how they're going to buy whatever he says
right.
that they should buy
That's right.
because he's coming from the heart. And that's the people that they want to get behind. And it doesn't matter if you won a tournament. You won a tournament, that's great. Who knows if you're ever going to win another one,
Right.
right? So the key to sponsorship is having something that you can sell someone, a guarantee. Like I don't know how many views my movie's going to get, but I guarantee you that every time it plays, your commercial is going to be in front of it.
That's right.
You can't do that on YouTube
No,
or Vimeo
no,
or any other place. I
no,
mean, right now
no.
Waypoint's the only one,
Yep.
and so I hope that. I mean, we're getting more and more short films on there all the time.
So let me ask you, just for the listeners out there, if an individual wanted to release a short film and Vimeo is a platform they're used to and they know YouTube is not, do they contact you? Do they contact Waypoint? Like
Yeah,
what?
Waypoint. Builder Brock is the one that's running all of that content acquisition, and he's constantly looking and contacting those people. But obviously, there's a lot of young filmmakers that aren't on his radar or whatever. So Builder Brock, builder at waypointtv.com, and that's his email address, and it goes straight to him, and he'll look at the content, and if it's up to snuff, then of course we want to work with whomever. We want the highest quality video content available.
That's right.
And, it has to, bottom line, it has to to be something that the fishing industry is proud of,
Right.
right? Like not people falling off boats and
Right.
funny videos that get tons of stuff, and we're even questioning whether or not you put instructional stuff on there. Our best thing that we've ever produced, I produced a uni knot video, way over 2 million views right now,
Jeez.
just for a knot video.
Yeah.
Right. So that tells me that there are a lot of people that are interested in both freshwater and saltwater fishing. This uni knot video that I did, I started with the hook, uni knot to the hook, double uni knot from the fluorocarbon leader to the braid, double uni knot from the braid to the mono backing, double uni knot to or a uni knot to the spool of a spinning reel. So it's one knot that you can use for the entire application, spooling a reel to the hook, right? So obviously it's cool, one knot, great. You can use that. That's the only knot Rich Tudor uses.
Only way to do
Only
it.
way. That's the only knot he knows. I'm telling you, he doesn't need another knot.
You don't. You really don't.
I like knots.
Perfect
I
that
know
knot and do it.
hundreds of knots.
That's
but
right. Yeah.
he fishes the uni knot double. Yeah, that's it. That's all he uses, and there's nothing wrong with it. His stuff doesn't break. You
Right,
know,
right.
it works. But we're questioning whether or not that is that a good thing to have on Waypoint, or
Right.
should it just be high quality video?
Right,
and,
right.
And so we're getting more and more, and people are more interested. And hunting is now moved over, and that content is coming quickly. But you know, those movies and those opportunities, I think, are only going to increase as the cost of the cameras come down. As you know, my son in a little Pelican box like that can have an A6300, two GoPros, and a drone, and have more production capability than we had the first 8 years of Saltwater Experience.
Yeah, and you can get all that for under a couple $1,000,
Right.
$3,000. Yep, all day long, and it's and people, I'm very new to photography, and it's something that I'm learning every day, and working with guys like your crew and everybody that I work with. I always pick up a little bit here and there, and we feed off each other's artistic
Right.
style, and whatever else, and people ask me all the time, like what camera should I get, or what lens should I get? I'm like, listen, man, I'm like, the best thing to do and is just find something that is affordable for you and master it. I shot with a beater for almost a year before I ever decided to even invest into a nice SLR, and ever since then, of course, your game just elevates. But before you get there, you have to, you learn your equipment. You have to learn, production. You got to learn what other guys do, what other guys don't do, and be a sponge. Like with anything, be a sponge. Anytime you go do something new, take in everything you can. Don't be the guy that's always talking in the room. Be the guy that's always listening in the room. And it's really helped us. And that is really what propelled our business. We're building a brand, and this is what we talked about earlier. The big fish and the media content and the films and everything that's involved with it is there to build a brand. You have companies like Yeti and Hook and all these companies that spends hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars branding and building this brand and building this brand. We have all those tools. Everybody, not just us, but everybody. Your son, all these younger individuals, they have all these tools to do the same thing. So go out and get it. Go out and get that content. One thing that you guys, the professionals, the guys that do this for a living, you guys can only be on the water so many days out of the year. There's only so many things you can see. There's only so many fish you can catch. There's only so many destinations you can visit. There's millions of people out there that can see things that you'll never have a chance to put on film. And that's what's so intriguing about your little project that you're working on, and how we met, because, you saw something that was like, wow, I didn't even know, this is close to home. I've been out West forever and I've done it all and I've never seen anything like this,
Right.
And that's what a lot of people get. Well, imagine if, more than 1% of society was fly fishing or an angler. Imagine if 10%. Imagine if 20%. Then we wouldn't have these issues with conservation and all these other things. More people would be involved. More money would be involved. More things would be, I guess, sought after,
Well, what do you think about the current status right now? We just have a new president.
Yep.
One of the things that I hear a lot of my friends talking about is possibly, and you've heard it a little bit on the news, possibly selling off public lands, possibly privatizing parks. What do you see the next 4 years happening?
That's something that's not going to take 4 years. That's something that's going to take a decade, maybe 2 decades. Whatever ball decides to get rolling in whatever direction, it's going to take a little bit to get there. It's going to take, these selling off public lands and selling off WMA and things like that. It's only going to hurt, what we're trying to do as professional anglers or as outdoorsmen,
Hmm.
as you would say, because hunters, anglers, whatever, hikers, anybody that likes to be outside, anybody that likes to be, that's going to affect all of us.
Yeah.
And it's something that if we don't all come together, you guys are dealing with a lot of that down here in the Everglades. If we don't come together, not just with, politicians and professionals like yourself and things like that, like all of us being involved,
Right.
it's, we have to do our part,
Well, I've been saying that if there was one thing that would make me go riot in the streets, I mean, it would be to sell off the national parks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But even just I mean, and I hope that that would never ever happen. But public lands, national forests, all of that. I mean, it really troubles me that that could even be a thought that you would sell that off for a quick buck because it's really ours.
It's
I
not
mean,
the
that's
answer. Once it's gone, it's gone.
right. Once it's gone,
It's
it's
it.
gone. And you know what? That happens here often. And I will eat my words on this one because I've seen the Marine Patrol or any sort of scientists working together with the National Marine Sanctuary. I've seen them close things. They closed Boca Chica Beach in Key West about 20 years ago. And we used to go fish Boca Chica Beach and you could catch a couple bonefish. There were a few permit there, and the tarpon would run through there. They closed it and said that they were going to do fish counts. Okay, they were going to reopen it. Well, they've never reopened it, and there's no reason for that to be closed. They'll close it to you and me going and flinging a feather in there, but 50 jet skis can go and beach their jet skis up on the sandbar and start drinking margaritas. But we can't go through there and catch and release a bonefish.
And leave the
It's been
margaritas. Yeah.
closed. It's been closed for 20 years and it has not reopened. And that I've seen other places get closed and not reopened. And the scientific data not be made public saying, you know what? This we're still studying this area. This is why we still need to keep it closed. That really bothers me. I will eat my words on this, though. They closed Joe Bay up in the Everglades for 30 years for crocodiles. And just this year, they opened it up. And Rich and I went back there with paddle boards and went up there. It's a no motor zone. Can't take a boat in there, but you can go in there now for the first time in 30 years. And we went up there with paddle boards, and I don't know if we went the wrong time of the year or what. We didn't see. I saw 2 Jack Crevalles about 20 pounds. Saw 4 Jack Crevalles about 1 pound, and a few mullet, and 2 baby little crocodiles.
Wow.
So I don't know what's up with that closure, but I sure am glad it's open.
Right.
And I don't know if why the fish weren't in there, but they weren't in there. And we didn't have good luck. We caught a couple of mangrove snappers and that was it. But that to me, whether we caught fish in there or not, was huge
Right.
that the Park Service actually reopened that. That was an amazing thing. And I'll eat my words because I've been saying, man, once it closes, it'll never reopen. Right. And I do believe that about once it's sold off, you're never getting it back.
Never.
And I hope that that's not something. I don't know that you're dealing with that around the North Georgia area, but you are surrounded with national forests, and they start selling that off and building hotels. Not good.
And
So
there's something to be said. You could take a hike or do whatever, and you can actually stand in one place and say, I'm probably the only person that's ever even been here before.
maybe
Maybe it's possible.
certainly today.
Yeah.
Or this week or this month. There's no reason for somebody to go there. Well, we're so fortunate to have so many areas like that throughout the United States. That's one of my favorite things about living in the United States. You look at a state like Idaho on one of those maps where the public lands are green, and Idaho is green. It's as green as that wall right there. It's incredible. I mean, there are vastly more areas that are wild lands and your land, my land, than there are places that are populated in Idaho. That's why that's probably one of my favorite states, because you could just pretty much get off the road anywhere and you're in public land. You would almost have to try to trespass in Idaho, but probably a lot of the good stuff's in. That's probably where a lot of the good stuff is anyway. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I like hearing your story. So when you have young people asking you, they see what you've done, they look at the movies that you're making, they're they're asking you, how do they do this? What do you tell them?
We were very fortunate just being able to, have so many people involved, including my wife and other family members, and just being able to have, a team behind you. We talked about that. Being able to have the creative minds around to be able to do that. What I think is probably the magic, I don't know, maybe the magic equation or algorithm or whatever you want to call it is just, I guess maybe somebody asking me like, how do you do this? What do you do? What is it you think about? What's the type of content that you're looking for?
I'm
Those
not
types of.
talking about the content so much. I mean, that's something different. That's you want to make a movie, go make a movie,
Right,
right?
right.
This is more along the lines. I get this. You're 35. I get emails from people all the time. I hate my job. I want to be a fishing guide.
Gotcha.
Okay. You have another job, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, but at some point, you decided you kind of wanted this, but you also have this, your other job. How do you talk to somebody about that's what they have? They've got a regular job. They either want to quit it and be a fishing guide, or they want to do what you've done and really take a risk and do something different.
There's a balance to it. Everything has to have a balance.
Not in my life.
Yeah. We try to manage as much as possible, my wife and I, and do everything, but it's a risk. We both just looked at each other and said, we're jumping into the deep end. We just went all out. And then she's my support group, and she's kind of the person that, even when I'm saying no, 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 it won't work, she's saying yes, 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 it will work. Just have faith in it, just do it. And it's one of those things where, and anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. If you wanna quit your job and you're miserable at your job and whatever else, I tell you what, man, there is nowhere else in the world that you feel more alive when you're on the water. If you're an angler and you're on the water, and you're in the creek and you're in the boat or whatever it is that you do, there's nothing that you feel more alive. You make people happy. You're sharing experiences. You're showing people part of your world that nobody would ever see. That's the most rewarding part of it. Think about the end game. Think about, what? It's not about going out here and trying to find sponsors and get free shit. And I'm sorry about that, but
Doesn't matter.
it's not about free stuff. It's not about being on pro staffs. It's not about that. It's about enjoying what you do for a living, whatever it is. And if you're an angler and you're an outdoorsman, find something that you enjoy and go after it. It might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take 5 years. I don't know. I don't have the right answer for that. But what I do have the answer for is one day when everything just clicks, when everything just comes together and falls together, you're going to stand there, you're going to be in your boat, or you're going to be with a client, you're going to have a personal moment to yourself, and you're going to say it was all worth it, man,
Mm.
because all the risk, I mean, there's probably times that in your first and when you're in your first part of your career and you were in a drift boat out west and you're just sitting here drifting, you're like, man, like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know if I made the right decision. I've got a wife, I've got a family, I've got a baby on the way. What do I do? It's going to take me 1,000 trips to be able
Yeah,
to
it
put
wasn't a
this
drift
kid.
boat out west. It was a redfish tournament in Louisiana and a hurricane coming over Key West. Two little babies and my wife evacuated to a fish house, and me not being able to get out of Louisiana, and I'm wondering what am I doing. That was the start of Saltwater Experience, by the way. Me saying I am done with these stupid redfish tournaments. Never doing another one again. You can have it.
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
driving home and concepting how can we do kind of something like this and sleep in our own bed every night.
That's right.
That's
That's
how we
right.
got it
And we
started.
talked about that earlier. It's one of those things where we don't know which avenue we're going. We don't know what part of the industry we want to be in, all that good stuff. But I think that, it's important for people to realize that, you can make a difference. You don't have to be a guide, you don't have to be, you don't have to be a filmmaker, you don't have to be a photographer to get out here and enjoy these things like we all do. Just be a part of it. It's a conversation piece. We could sit down and say, "Oh yeah, this is what I did today. Oh yeah, this is what I did today." Well, you know, if you don't enjoy that and you don't absolutely love that, then why are you doing it? I know that we have jobs, we have responsibilities, and I do
Hmm.
too. Everybody does. But if you can do what you love to do every single day, everybody's heard of the cliche stereotype, you're not really working, but it's true, and until you feel that,
It's not really working, but it took 18 hours of your day.
long time, long time.
Just didn't seem like work.
It doesn't seem
I mean,
like work.
a fishing guide works, and the fishing guide works.
And and guides work. I don't for people that are listening to this, tip your guide, because he is working his ass off. His job starts at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. It doesn't end till 12 a.m. the following day. I mean, it's one of those things where we like to show you our world. And if we can do that in any particular way that might be, I don't know, intriguing to others, that's what we're about. Like you said earlier, man, it's not about, I get more enjoyment out of holding a net and netting fish and seeing people smile and clap and high five each other rather than ever catching a fish. People ask me all the time, I'll take buddies fishing and I'll like, even now I'll take buddies fishing to my fishery and wherever else. And they'd be like, "Why aren't you fishing, man?" I'm like, "Dude, I live here, man. I could do this
Yeah,
every day.
yeah.
You don't."
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I have no doubt that you're going to be very successful at it. All right, we're going to start wrapping this up. So, rapid fire. Tell me, tell me three things you like to do outside of fishing.
Oh man. Three things outside of fishing. I mean, at this point in my life, fishing consumes my life. So it's very hard to do those three things, but family is a big priority. It really is. And when you get married and you have a child on the way and, you have a different focus, and I think being a good father and a good husband, I think that's going to be something I'm really going to be able to enjoy, something I'm really, it's going to change my life for the better. It's going to be one of those things. But everybody has hobbies. I really enjoy photography. Really enjoy that side of things. It's something that really, really kind of gets me going. I mean, there's nothing that excites me more than just being a part of that whole world.
Mm-hmm.
That whole kind of what you guys do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tacos.
Yeah, tacos. Really like tacos, huh?
Man, tacos should have been the first answer. It's taco night is
All right,
it should be every night.
So family, photography,
Tacos.
and tacos. All right, that's cool. Hey, those are three good answers.
Yeah, man.
All right, what's the best piece of advice anybody's ever given you?
Oh man.
Obviously, wasn't that good.
Yeah. I've been told a lot of things that it kind of really sets stone, but what one person can do, another person can do. Don't limit yourself. Don't ever put yourself in this category of, I can't. Just go out and do it, man. If you fail, you fail. We all fail. And it's one of those things where, I tell my guides all the time, the guys that are new to the business and everything, I'm like, listen, man, you're going to fail. You're going to get no's, you're going to get no's, you're going to get no's. And then when you get that first yes, it feels that much better, and you get that second yes and that third yes. But, just keep trucking, man. It's not, do what you love and love what you do. And things will fall in place. This might not be what what you set out to do might not be the end game. You might find a totally different path.
Yeah.
Chasing that avenue,
Yep.
And that's what's so neat about the fishing industry is you can in the outdoor industry, you can do absolutely anything you want.
That's definitely good advice and good advice that you gave others. Proudest accomplishment?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to say my wife since she's in the room.
You better say your wife because she's in the room.
And my daughter on the way. I mean, it really is. I mean, it is. 35 years old. It's family time. It really is my greatest accomplishment. I'm proud of a lot of things, but they all disappear when you think about your family.
Yeah.
You've got your family and you keep them close to your heart, and you're only going to grow as a man and as an individual and as a family. And it's a special time in my life, and it's cool to be able to share that with people, and so it's been a fun ride, man. That's for sure. Yeah,
well, I have no doubt that you're going to be doing very well. I'm very impressed with you. You're well spoken. You definitely got your priorities in line, and I have no doubt that you're going to do some great things in this industry. And first thing that you're going to do great is put me on a really big trout. So I'm taking you up on it. We're coming back. We're going to finish. You're going to have part B of the show that we filmed today. But anyway, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, and we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram. It's Fly Shop Co. And my personal is Will Taylor Project. And you can email me at will@flyshopco.com. Website's flyshopco.com as well. Yeah, just contact us and book your trip of a lifetime. It's the real deal. The hype's real, man.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, we'll make sure to do another podcast when we get up there and after that. But you're a stud. I appreciate you sitting down with me for a little bit. Appreciate you coming down.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.